Guys, Bungie might have nerfed our healing, but they will never nerf our hammers. Today I'm going to show you the build I use for speedrunning any content in the game. And just to prove you how strong this build is, I'm going to be solo speedrunning this Master Nightfall while being under the recommended power level. Also keep in mind, Master Nightfalls are much harder than any other Master activity like Master Duality or Grasp of Avarice. That is because of the burn as well as all the modifiers that come with them. I do have to say that in my opinion they went a little too harsh on the nerf, because at this point you can literally replace Loreley's helmet with a healing grenade and you will get the same effect. Anyways, back to the hammer build. The best part about Bong Hammer is that you don't really need any mods to make it work. Solar Titan is so freaking good that as long as you have the Syntheseps, you can already start enjoying the build. So even if you don't have all the mods, don't be too worried about it. Also guys, look how close we are to hitting 5,000 subs. If you like my content, then I would really appreciate if you could drop a sub. Thank you so much. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can squeeze out every single flame out of this build to make it as good as it gets. You're going to have a permanent healing source thanks to Restoration ×1 and Well of Life. Not to mention that you're also going to get healed whenever you pick up your hammer. This build will also offer you a 25% damage reduction buff when sprinting thanks to Striking Light's second perk, and trust me, you sprint a lot when chasing that hammer. Best part about this build is that you can combine it with any weapon you want, making it very versatile and allowing you to adapt to any activity. We are going to be using Syntheseps to buff our melee damage. The way Syntheseps work is that every time you are surrounded by at least 3 enemies, you will get a buff called Bionic Enhancement that increases your melee damage by 200% and your super by 50%. Keep in mind that this buff lasts for 8 seconds, meaning that you don't have to be constantly surrounded by enemies to keep it active. We are going to combine the Syntheseps damage boost with our aspect Roaring Flames, that in our case increases the damage of our throwing hammer by 10% per stack, and it goes all the way to 3 stacks. Now this next step is not mandatory, but it's nice if you want to take the build to the next level, and that is our good old Tractor Cannon, which debuffs enemies for 30%. However, the build doesn't just shine with the crazy amount of damage that its infinite hammers can deal, it's also very good at surviving because of all the healing and damage resistance that we are going to be using. That includes Striking Light, Resilience, Chest Mods, Restoration ×1, Wall of Life, and our hammer that also heals us on pickup. As you can see guys, this build is as solid as it gets, and now that you have an understanding of how it works, let's get into the aspects, fragments and mods. Stat wise, we are going to be aiming for 100 resilience, then as much recovery as you can get, and I like to put the rest of my points into discipline for that faster healing grenade or whatever grenade you're going to be using. Aspect wise, we are going to be starting off with Roaring Flames, and this is what's going to be giving you that stacking damage buff that increases the damage of your solar abilities. Next up we have Sol Invictus, and this is going to create those sunspots whenever you get a kill with a solar ability. These sunspots increase your ability regeneration, as well as they give you Restoration ×1, so they're very important. Moving on to our fragments, we have Ember of Torches, and this is going to make you and your allies radiant whenever you hit an enemy with your throwing hammer. Then we have Ember of Solace, which is going to extend the duration of radiant and restoration effects applied on you. Now, the reason why we are not using Ember of Empyrean is simply because we don't need it, and the 10 resilience penalty that it provides is really bad. The reason why we don't need it is because we are going to be renewing restoration every time we re-enter a sunspot. And trust me, you're going to be entering sunspots 24/7 when playing this build. Then we are using Ember of Wonder, but this is mainly for the 10 resilience that it provides, and then Ember of Searing, and this is also mainly for the 10 recovery that it provides. So the 2 most important fragments that you need is Ember of Torches and then Ember of Solace. The other 2 are personal preference, so if you don't need the stats, feel free to swap them out. Now moving on to the mods, we are going to be starting on our helmet, and we are going to be using Reactive Pulse. Now, I'm not using this for the Charge with Light effect, but I'm mainly using this for the secondary perk that it provides, which is gain a powerful overshield while performing your finisher. Now, this can save you so many times when you're performing a finisher and there's a lot of enemies surrounding you. We are also going to pair this up with Hands-On, just to give us that super energy whenever we get kills with our melee. And also we are using the seasonal mod Inferno Whip, which is going to make our melee stun unstoppable champions. On our Syntheseps, we are going to be running Elemental Time Dilation, and this is mainly because we have Well of Life in our build, and this is going to extend the duration of Well of Life. On our chest plate, we are running melee well maker, and this is going to spawn a solar elemental well whenever we get a kill with our melee ability. In our case, our throwing hammer. On our leg armor, we are going to be using Well of Life, and this is going to stack with Classy Restoration, and both of them combined are going to provide us a very solid healing source, which is going to make you pretty much unkillable. In here, you can put any scavenger of your choice, just get rid of recuperation. And finally, for our Titan mark, we are going to be using Striking Light, and this is also mainly for the secondary perk that it provides, which is gain damage resistance against combatants while sprinting. This is a 25% damage resistant buff, and this is very nice in this build. We are pairing this up with 1-2 finisher because this is going to allow you to get your hammer back whenever you lose it simply by finishing an enemy. Weapon wise, you can use anything you want in this build, that's why I really like it, because it's so versatile. Now, a couple of things I can definitely recommend to you is using a tractor cannon to further buff your damage of your throwing hammer, or a Galahorn, or even a weapon like the Lament if you really want to. For your energy weapon, I would suggest something that can add clear. For Barons is a perfect weapon for that, especially if you have chain reaction in it. So when playing this build, you don't want to be afraid of running into enemies and hammering them to death, because as long as you kill one, you'll start a whole chain of events that will make you pretty much unkillable. Usually you want to stack up your Roaring Flames to ×3 before diving into a champion to ensure that you will deal the most amount of damage possible. However, if you are doing easier content, then activating Syntheseps should be more than enough damage. Once you get that first kill, you will spawn a well that activates Well of Life, and you will also spawn a Sunspot that activates Restoration ×1. That's why it is very important to get that first kill with your hammer before you start hammering away. Most of the times you won't need to use your super because you will be killing everything with your throwing hammer. And also your super is a very nice way to get your hammer back when you lose it. However, if you are in a really bad spot and you feel like you're about to die, then don't be afraid to pop your super. There's not much more I can teach you guys. I have passed on all my hammer knowledge to you guys, and now it's your turn to carry your teammates like a real GigaChat Titan that you are. As always, thank you so much for watching, like, sub and comment, and have a wonderful rest of your day.